Right then, today year 7 I'm going to be recapping on our hemmed edges, just reminded about the equipment. So we've got some needle over here, we've got thread, some pins and our scissors. Don't forget with the needle you're making sure you're going for a fine needle with quite a small eye in there as well. So we're aiming to get our edges, our raw edges, which normally look like this. We're going to get those hemmed today using a double hem. So I'm going to take the side of my fabric first of all and recap the last lesson we all measured these out. Then you take your fabric for your hemmed edge and you want to tuck that over. Now hems are really important to not only prevent the fabric from fraying, but also to prevent the fabric from looking untidy as well. So it's both decorative and functional. So at the moment all I've done is I've just finger pressed along that line that I drew last time. So just very nicely finger pressing it down and pressing quite hard there. Now because I'm doing a double hem, I can now open that up, fold that back inside to halfway and then finger press nice and secure, and then I'm going to take that edge, take it over one more time, and then I'll actually pin that hem down. Now this hem is on the wrong side of my fabric. Now the wrong side of your fabric is where you're going to hide all your untidy knots, and it's also where all those marks are going to be, and I'll show you that in a sec. So if I just hold that in position there, you can tell this is the wrong side of my fabric because you can still see all the marks. I wouldn't want these marks on the actual final piece. The right side of my fabric is nice and clean, so people shouldn't be able to see any of those tracing marks there. I'm going to take another pin now and secure that in. Hold it nice and tight, straight through, and another pin at this side, and again hold it nice and tight and take it straight through. Sometimes the hem would like to poke back up, just check it once it's all nice and secure. It's looking quite good there for me, and I'm ready now for some hand sewing. So for this I've got myself some darker thread today, just so you can see it whilst I'm modelling, but of course you choose the thread that matches yours if you wish. A pair of fabric scissors and of course that small nice fine needle. So first things first, remind yourselves here folks that we're taking the end of the thread, chopping off any unwanted bits at the end. You want a nice sharp area, wet your fingers, neaten up that thread, and I'm going to poke that thread through the eye of the needle. Now today I'm doing this from height, so can't get that close, but let's just pop that through there. And in it goes. Now you're pulling the thread through, remember you want in a doubled up thread. Now of course on the video that is certainly not enough, so you need to take this quite a distance. Now for me I'm going to stop about there, so that's how much I'm working with today, quite a decent amount. If you've got a small amount you'll have to stop it, you'll have to rethread it and keep knotting it, etc. So it's really good to get a decent amount first. Then I'm going to cut off from the thread. Again you can make yourself a little loop, pop your thread through that loop like this and pull tight, or if you wrap it round your finger like that, pinch it nice and tight, really tight, roll it off the edge like that, and if you pull down on that you'll end up with quite a decent sized knot. Tangly bits at the end of knots need to be got rid of, otherwise they cause lots of problems later on. Let's clear my area now and let's begin. So when you're doing any type of stitch work folks, you need to make sure it's nice and neat and nice and straight. You might want to rule yourself a line from side to side. I'm not going to on my demo, but it would be recommended, especially if you struggle with your stitches. I'm now going to hem along this bottom line here. I'm going to poke my needle into the top right hand corner, pull through, so my knot's on the wrong side of my fabric. We spoke about that, it's the ones with all the lines on. So back through it goes. And now I'm going to do a very simple running stitch. I'm going to keep my stitches nice and neat and accurate, and I'm going to take that in and through. Now for some of you, you may want to do it like this. That's fine, but you've got to now be sewing both the sections of fabric together. You can't just sew one. So in I go again, and we'll pop that through there, and so on and so forth. Now your stitches, as I said last time, need about the size of about half the size of a grain of rice. And again, if your stitches get too big, your hem's not going to be strong. So it's really important with that you keep your stitch work nice and strong, nice and neat, so that your product is of good quality and will get a better level overall. You can just see some of those stitches there as I'm working in. Some of you naturally work back stitch, fine, but at the moment I'd rather you keep to our running stitch. It just keeps things nice and simple. So I'm poking my needle in, poking it through. Those of you new to stitching, you'll follow the poke, turn, pull method, which I'm going to do now for you. So if you're on the poke, turn, pull method, I'll show you now once I get my needle back up. So you take your fabric, you poke the needle in, you turn the fabric over, and you pull your needle out. And that's for beginners, especially if you keep getting wrapped round. Poke needle in, turn your fabric over, and pull through. So I'm going to continue with this stitch right up until the end, but do be aware you want nice, neat, straight lines of stitching all the way up from this side right to the end on there. Once you've finished with your stitches, don't forget to knot at the end, and then you've done this side of the hem. Then you'll need to do exactly the same on the other side and work onto that one.